Hi everyone, my name is Ange Bourgeois and this is my story. I hope this video encourages and inspires some of you as I have built an online sports coaching business to over $100,000 a year. And this is a lot of the background and history of how I learned to actually do all of this stuff. So with all that being said, let's jump in. I'm gonna start with my journey at the college level because that kind of kicks off and sets the tone for my work experience throughout the rest of my career up to this point. So I was a middle infielder in college at a school called Biola University in Southern California, and baseball has taught me so many life lessons. That's part of the reason that I'm such a big advocate for using sports to teach life lessons, because I just don't think that there's a better avenue to be able to do that. So much of who I am is because of playing baseball and because of having great coaches while I play baseball. So I played baseball at Biola. In my junior year, I transitioned to a catcher. Now that's gonna be a really key point in the story later on, so stay tuned for that. But when I transitioned from an infielder to a catcher, it was really, really difficult. I went from being a lockdown infielder to becoming a beginner catcher, and it was really, really tough, especially from the physical standpoint of learning a completely new skill set, but then especially from the mental standpoint of feeling like I'm unstoppable, like you can't beat me, and now all of a sudden I'm running and picking up balls from behind me every 10 pitches. And the pitches don't stop coming, they just keep coming more and more and more. And when you make one mistake, you make another mistake. It's really, really tough. And so that was a major struggle for me. It hurt my confidence a lot. It was a really, really tough time, but going through that pain has led to a lot of benefit, and I'm gonna share some of that later on. So after I played baseball, I ended up getting married to my beautiful wife, Bailey. This is a picture from our wedding. We now have a 1.5-year-old little girl named Lila. She is amazing and is so cute. She's at such a fun age right now. And once we got married, we moved out to Salt Lake City, where I'm originally from, and I became a high school pastor at the church that I went to all throughout middle school and high school. So it was really cool going back to the church and being able to help students that I was once in their shoes. And while I was a high school pastor, I learned a lot of really valuable lessons, such as how to lead a team of volunteers, how to preach a sermon on a weekly basis, and how to run events, because essentially that's what we were doing for our weekly youth groups and our Sunday gatherings. So I learned a lot of really valuable skills that I didn't previously have, and it was a whole lot of fun. We decided that we wanted to move back to California, and so when we did move back to California, we moved into this house right here, and at that point in my life, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. Many of you might relate, after you get out of college, you're not really sure what you wanted to do. I had wanted to be a professional baseball player, that didn't work out. I had wanted to be a pastor, but when we moved back, that wasn't gonna work out in California, and so I thought maybe I'll be a financial planner. And so I started to study for the CFP. I actually got a job that allowed us to move down there at an independent RIA firm. We literally unbox all of our stuff into this tiny little back house, and I get a message from the CEO saying like, hey, sorry, COVID, we're not gonna be able to hire you. So we had just moved back to California, and I got a job during COVID, and as soon as we put our stuff into the house, the job offer was taken back. So as you can imagine, it was a little stressful because it was also during COVID, but looking back, I'm so grateful because one, we wouldn't have had proof of income to be able to move into that house if not for that job offer. And two, I'm so glad I'm not working in the finance industry because there are a lot more strict requirements on what you can say, what you can't say, and I like to be able to create content and teach what I learned. So it worked out really well. But then that left us with a $2,000 rent in Southern California with no income, and we were trying to figure out how we would make it. So I actually got a job working at a small startup in Los Angeles, and because there was no traffic because of COVID, I could drive up to Universal Studios area in 60 minutes, and it wasn't too bad. So at this startup, I learned so many new skills. I learned how to whiteboard and prioritize. I learned how to hire other people through places like Upwork to be able to help with the work that I was doing. I got introduced to SEO and digital marketing. I learned how to track and organize videos in a content production process as I was the operations manager and running the entire flow of it. And I got the experience of what it was like actually creating content that was really trying to help people. We created these animated videos where we would have a script, get it animated, and I was in charge of giving reviews to the animation automation and making sure that we were hitting our numbers in terms of the videos that we were trying to produce. My experience here was really great, and I learned so much, and that honestly laid a great foundation for me to be able to learn how to take an idea and turn it into something and actually get it done, because I hadn't really had that experience before. But as COVID died down and traffic ramped up, I decided that commuting wasn't gonna be the best use of my time and going remote wasn't an option. So I ended up getting a new job in a sales role at a company called Unishippers. I had a great manager and owner at the franchise that I worked at, and this game was a pure grit and volume game. While I was here, I learned a bunch of different skill sets around how do you go outbound, how do you go door to door, how do you cold call, and how do you hit the numbers that you need to hit in order to hit your sales goals. Throughout this time, I also realized that it's really important to set proper expectations, because the shipping and logistics industry is just kind of messy. When I first started, I remember I made a promise to a customer that UPS was never gonna delay a package or they were gonna be perfect, and that was very, very naive of me. Obviously, shipping has issues, and if you don't communicate what those issues can be on the front end, then it's not very fun for you or for the customer. So I learned a ton in this sales role, and it was at this point that I started looking at what I was doing and seeing how could I use video to make things better. And one of the ways that I used video that really helped was anytime I would ask the customer to do something, I would send them a video showing exactly where they would need to click on the screen in order to do the thing that I was asking them to do. So my time at Unishippers was great, but I was looking to make a move, and I ended up going to a Fortune 500 company called Cintas. Cintas is an awesome organization, and they take care of their people really well. I have nothing but good things to say about these guys, and my managers were awesome. One thing I was really impressed with was that their onboarding process was dialed in. The moment I accepted the offer, they had multiple touch points of physical things mailed to me, digital things sent to me, and physical things in person at the office that made sure that I knew that I was welcome, just like this right here. And on top of that, I had one of the coolest jobs, because my job was literally to go talk to business owners in Newport Beach and ask them how they're doing, how I can help them with their floor mats, paper towels, all that kind of stuff. And I got to meet some amazing business owners, and they were paying me a pretty decent wage, plus my car payment, plus my gas, as I'm driving around Orange County just talking to business owners, seeing if I can help solve their problems. It was a really cool gig. But as I was doing it, I was looking at it and thinking to myself, this model seems a bit outdated because of the internet. I think that that was the best way to grow pre-internet, but now that we have the internet, you can reach a lot more people in a much more efficient way because of the internet. One of the things that really cemented that in my head was I got called in for jury duty, and this must have been some crazy case, because if I got selected, I was supposed to be there for 3 months. So I started thinking to myself, okay, if I am not allowed to go out and actually do my job, how am I still gonna be able to hit my numbers? And as I was thinking through how I'd still hit my numbers if I only had 1 day a week through using the internet, it really got me thinking about all of digital media in general. And as I was consuming different sales methodologies and learning a lot more about the business landscape, I combined these 3 different methodologies into a Canva presentation similar to this called The Future of Sales. One of the methodologies that I combined together was a book called They Ask You Answer. So I made this presentation, I was super excited, and I sent it off to one of my buddies, and he responded and was like, cool, man. It wasn't quite the response that I was hoping for, because I thought it was a genius idea. And about a month later, I met up with one of my mentors, and I sent it to him before we met for coffee. And while I had it still copied in my phone, I sent it to the author of They Ask You Answer. His name's Marcus Sheridan. He's an awesome dude. That got me a gig at Impact, where I coached and trained here for about 2 years. And at Impact, we really did 4 things for companies. We would coach them to install written content systems, video content systems, a sales process with the right content embedded throughout, and their CRM, where we were partners with HubSpot. They're a great company, and I have great relationships with those guys over there. I'd highly recommend, if you're a business that's doing maybe over 3 million a year, you might want to check them out. So while I was there, I coached and trained on written content, assignment selling, and sold for them. So basically what that means is I would help them to hire a content manager that would come in, write articles for them. I'd help guide the strategy for what we would write on that was specific to their audience, and I would give feedback to the content manager on exactly what we did. On the assignment selling side, I would work with sales teams, and as I would train the sales teams, I would work with them on their tonality, on their word choice, and their actual conviction that the prospect needs to understand these things before they make any sort of decision. And what we found is that the better educated a prospect is, the better the sales process is. And then finally, I ended up selling for them as well, where I took sales calls, identified where businesses needed help, and ultimately recommended solutions for them as well. And while I was at Impact, one of the things that I started to do was I started to create content for a company called Catching Made Simple. I'd always been really interested in creating content and had been making some content on LinkedIn, but then one of my best friends, Coach Rack, taught me how to make video content for TikTok. And it was really explosive as soon as I started posting. It was in this window of time where TikTok was trying to juice new accounts and there was a gap in the marketplace in terms of baseball content around catching, and it really just started to take off. So my second video got 1 million views and I got to 10,000 followers on TikTok within a week. It was pretty cool. Now I've been doing this for about 2 years and I'm over 300,000 followers across platforms, and at YouTube, as of right now, I'm at 65.9 thousand subscribers. And on top of that, I've been able to build a business that has made me over $100,000 a year, which is more than I was making at any of my other jobs, all by coaching online and working my own hours, which is pretty crazy. The main way that I made money was through doing video reviews like this, as I would have them practice at home, going through a curriculum, then give them video feedback along the way, and through selling courses, which took all the information that I knew that I suffered through when I went through my transition as an infield to catcher, and puts that into an organized, systematic, and speedy way to learn how to catch. One thing that was so important was I started working on this while I had another job. I didn't do it during work hours, but I did it almost all the other hours of the day because I knew that this had a bigger opportunity than anything else that I could pursue. Plus, it was way more fun. And as I was doing this, I got to build a bunch of awesome relationships. And actually, with my buddy who taught me how to edit, Coach Rack, we created NYABC, or Not Your Average Baseball Camp. And here, we got to have amazing events for kids and got to network with a ton of other coaches that have become good friends to this day. The mission of NYABC has been to make baseball fun and provide the best quality teaching, which a lot of the coaches do an exceptional job. So that's all about my story. Hopefully that gives you a little bit more context into who I am, the skills that I've learned, and now what I can do. And if you want to learn more, make sure that you follow along on Instagram and YouTube, where I'm going to be posting more content just like this. So if you like this, follow along. And if you liked this video, then you might like this video right up here as well. I'm Ange Bourgeois. Let's win together.